Hello and welcome back to Hollowponds Solo Sagas. So today we are continuing playing Daggerheart, our Daggerheart campaign. We are using all of the stuff that can come for free from the Daggerheart website, the SRD, the Sablewood location for Daggerheart document. We'll use bits out of the starter adventure. We are using 2 books that you can purchase from Drive Thru. We have the Solo in Sablewood book, which was out last week. And we have the Heart Guide. I have had complaints about the Heart Guide due to the fact that there is AI generated art on the first cover. Now the Heart Guide is smaller than Solo in Sablewood. The Heart Guide has basically one piece of art, which is the cover art. That is all the art which is in the Heart Guide book. And yes, it is AI generated because at the time I couldn't source any art that would work on the cover. Solo in Sablewood is not AI generated. The cover art was from Willgard, from Pixabay, and all of the internal art from Solo and Sablewood is done by Mandy. Let's show you a piece of internal art done by Mandy. Some of the internal art done by Mandy. Look, a little picture that Mandy drew. So that is done by that, and at some point I might read you the cover of the Heart Guide. So let's continue with Fern's adventures. So Fern has finished speaking to the Whitefire Arcanist. Fern returned back to Hush. We rolled that encounter for what happened with Fern in Hush, and Fern stopped that. Well, didn't succeed in stopping the oxen. Got a bit injured. Was taken into the Clover Tavern and bought some rounds by the Lara, the dwarf who was associated with and is in the starter adventure. Now, what I said I was going to do was, between then and now, was I would generate the cards for the 2 factions, our faction clocks. So the Thistlefolk, their overall goal is make the Thistlefolk safe in the Sablewood. Their first trigger point goal will be that they will find magic to help protect all of the Thistlefolk villages. So when that triggers, we will find that their villages are a little bit safer and a little bit harder to find. Then we have the Sable Sinecure. Their overall goal is to control all trade in the kingdom. That's their overall goal. Their first tier of the goal, so when all 9 boxes of their faction clock fills, is to control the Sablewood trade. And so all Sablewood trade pays tithe to the Sinecure. So all trade will be paying a portion, a tax tithe to the Sinecure. That's their overall goal. Their first tier success is that all trade routes are guarded and the money is covered. So at that point, when those 3 clocks fill, we'll find that if we decide to do banditing or we travel with a trade route, we will find that they will be heavily guarded and we will add extra guards to that. Those are the 2 faction clocks. We also have our job board within Hush. I said I was going to roll a 3rd job. So just to remind you, we have 3 jobs on our job board. We have 2 that we already knew about. Both were actually from the Whitefire Arcanist. The first one is to scout out that spire because there's something wrong with the spire. That's a 4 o'clock job and one of the clocks is already ticked. The second job was also for the Whitefire Arcanist, and that was we are to defeat or kill a solo monster, which I believe we said was going to be a construct, a golem, a construct, which is a tier 1 monster that does +2 damage. It's been attacking Hush is Ward's defenses. This will also help be a faction job to help the Thistlefolk because it will stop that golem from wandering around the Sablewood and possibly destroying Thistlefolk villages. And our 3rd job, which I rolled between then and now, is a trader's job. So there's a travelling trader who is based in Hush and they want us to collect a creature from the refuge. I randomly rolled. It's an otter hawk, which is covered in moss. We had wander, vanish and river as our keywords that came out, which I then wrapped into a story. They haven't been seen for many years. The travelling trader will pay for a breeding pair to be brought to them to take to... Oh, they want to take it to the refuge to sell to the refuge. Right, I remembered it wrong. So we need to go into the Sablewoods. Somewhere near a river is this otterhawk. We want to find a breeding pair and to sell them to a collector who has a menagerie in the refuge, and we will get 3 handfuls of gold for doing that. The moss, which grows on the otterhawk, can be used as a hallucinogenic drug. Now, the interesting thing that we can incorporate into this is, do we want to do this? Is Fern, who is a ranger, is Fern the fawn, who wants to be a ranger, are they the sort of person who will go and capture a breeding pair of otterhawks to sell to a travelling trader to take to the refuge and sell to someone as a menagerie? I don't think Fern is the sort of person who would want to do that. I think Fern is the sort of person who would want to protect the otterhawks from persecution. So we might twist this job that we rolled into not being one that we will do, but rather one that if we come across the river, or we roll river or water or any of those sort of keywords, we might remember this and have that Fern see somebody else trying to trap some otterhawks, and we will intercept them. Fern will try to stop. Fern and Wolf will try and stop the otterhawks from being captured. So though we have generated a story, we can use a job rather, we can use that as a story hook instead. So Fern is inside a Hush, and Fern has some things that Fern needs to do. We know the clock is ticking on trying to explore the spire to the west, so we can head west and see if we can find that spire. Now, whilst we leave Hush, Wolf and Fern might do a scout around the outskirts of Hush in the Sablewood, just doing an abstracted roll to see if we can find a track of this construct. So we could try and track down the construct first and see if we can defeat the construct and then go and check out the spire all in one journey. Now, Fern has basic supplies, a minor healing potion, a torch and 50 foot of rope. We have 1 handful of gold. I don't think Fern has. Now, I mean, Fern took 1 hit point damage from that last session. I think we will leave that for now, and we will say that Fern isn't going to do anything with that. Fern has a bow, short bow, and I think Fern and Wolf are going to go out into the Sablewood. So what's Wolf got? So Wolf has just a bite, melee attack. All right, so we are gonna take this point. I think Fern is going to. We're going to say it's the next day that Fern had spent. Where's our solo adventure? Here. Fern would have spent the evening with Lucia Stanworth, the Windborn Dwarf. She will have offered Fern somewhere to stay for the evening, and Fern would have stayed there. Fern and Wolf will get up early, thank Louisa. Thank you very kindly, Louisa, for your hospitality.
That's all right there, darling. Don't you worry about it. Anytime you're back into Hush. Are you going off then?
Yes, there's some jobs I need to do for the Whitefire Arcanist. There is the spire to the west seems to be causing some problems with its magic.
Aye, we were talking about that in the tavern last night. Do you remember? Oh, you might not remember because you were on those beers, weren't you?
Mead, I thought.
I know, mead. But anyway, I wish you good luck. I tell you what, why don't you take some bread and cheese with you as a little bit of a snack?
And so Louisa, because, I mean, they're meant to be very kind and they're very forward-giving and they're very charitable to a limit within Hush. And so Louisa will give Fern some food that will take Fern for the day. But I don't know if we're going to be very... I think we're going to follow the ethos of like a handful of gold or some food. And then say that Fern could go hunting and can pick berries, and Fern has survival skills, and if we want to, we can roll for it. But I think abstracting that part of the story might be more fun than more Twilight 2000 every single resource detail counts. I think we're gonna flow a bit more with Daggerheart and embrace the Daggerheart list. Do you see? If you see the thumbnail, I actually changed the thumbnail for episode 2 and added it in. Mandy drew a little thing of a fawn, of Fern the fawn, as quite a young sort of neutrally type of fawn thing. I quite liked it, so I've added that in. So Fern takes Wolf. He's going to go and see about the Whitefire to say goodbye to the Whitefire Arcanist. We'll have a bit of a scene of Fern going around and saying goodbye to people, and Fern is going to leave Hush, and we are going to travel towards the west, I think, but we might do a bit of a scout around. So we might just roll. So instead of doing, so there is a table inside Solo in Sablewood which allows you to sort of abstract your travel and just do some travelling rolls. You can either got a description table or there's some verbs for travelling. When travelling through Sablewood, make an instinct roll, modified by the relevant experience with a target of 15. On a fail check or a success with fear, roll a d12. On an odd result, you have an encounter. A fail check with fear means you're ambushed. And so we'll do that, but first I think we're going to scout. We're going to spend an hour or so and carefully scout around Hush. Fern being a fawn, Fern being wildborn, is going to be light of foot and attempt to basically, we're doing a bit of a scout. So Fern is going to be light footing around with Wolf, who will be padding by Fern's side. They'll be moving in and out of the bushes. Fern will have a short bow in hand and ready to pull an arrow. So every now and then when there's a noise, Fern will go. And so Fern is going to basically be doing a bit of a hunting and tracking, basically looking for sort of spore or scent. There won't be either of those because it's a construct, and we've been told it's a construct. So we're basically going to look and see if we can find any tracks. Now, as far as I'm concerned, and based on that as well, that is an instinct roll. So just to clarify, we are going to do blue as hope, red as fear. And I was thinking about this since over the week. I think when I rolled that yes no for is it a troll or is it a construct, I think that was a no, not a yes, because we rolled a 12 and a 6, but I think the 12 was a fear, so it was a no, not a yes. So I need to pay attention to that a bit more. Fern is going to do a bit of tracking, and Fern is going to see if Fern can find a track. So let's have a look at our difficulty benchmarks for instinct and see what target we might set. I reckon it's a 15. So we've got 10, hear a speaking voice 50 paces away. 15, hear someone walking in the woods 50 paces away. Yes, I think we've got an instinct roll with a target of 15, which is basically when we're moving through the woods anyway. So this isn't a moving through the woods, i.e. we're travelling a distance to a target, i.e. the spire to the west. This is we're doing a circuit around Hush, looking for signs of this construct. So we're looking for broken branches or footprints, like big circular imprints into muddy poles, and we're looking to see if what we can find. Now, I don't think we are wildborn, so I could turn around and say, can I get an advantage for being wildborn and I've grown up in the woods? Do we think that there would be an advantage for growing up in the... I think that's justifiable. We're a ranger and we are wildborn, so I'm going to give Fern a D6 advantage because Fern is grown up in the woods. We've got a target of 15. We have a 9 and a 1, so we've rolled with hope, and we've got a 3, so we've got a 13. So that's a failure, but it's a failure with hope. Now, because it's a failure, we can trigger a GM move if we want to. Let's have a look in our GM move tables within our guide. So we could try rolling a GM move. Let's roll a D12 from the Heart Guide with the GM Move Oracle and see what it comes up with and decide whether we want to take it or not. A 10, an NPC takes offence. So what we can have is that we've gone round, we're doing hunting, and we'll have our scene, our spotlight will focus on Fern, moving through the bush, moving through the brush. We call it bush in Australia. I'm going to have to get used to not calling it anymore. Well, I still can carry it with me. I'm still allowed to use Australianisms outside of Australia, aren't I? Moving through the brush and moving through the bush. Gently trying to move as slowly, quietly as possible. Because of the failure, Fern misses. We'll have Fern go straight past the construct, which is standing, because the construct heard, and so we focus our camera on Fern moving past, and then as Fern moves past, the camera will pan following, and then the camera will stay as Fern moves away, and then focus into the bush, where we will see this construct, this stone iron golem's face, and the red eyes following Fern walking past as Fern moves through. So that is our NPC taking offence. So our NPC knows about Fern. And so what we might have, as this clock here, I might have that if this triggers, that we're going to be ambushed by the construct. So we're going to trigger that one thing. So we're going to say the trigger is ambush. So we have to fight this construct one way or another. Our trigger for the construct is, 1, 2, 3, 4, ambush. That's what we're going to have. So we failed our first box, moving that part of the story through. Fern and Wolf have done a circuit of hush. They can find no trail of this construct. They're not even too sure. Come on, Wolf. If there is something out here, I can't find it. And I've looked at the walls. I can't see any scratches on it. I've looked into the bush. I can't find anything. Could you find anything, Wolf? I mean, I don't think I can roll for Wolf. I don't think Wolf has that form of apparently does. Start with +2 in experience, loyal to the end, and protective. Let's give Wolf a roll. But I'm going to say Wolf has got disadvantage because Wolf is just focusing on Fern. Wolf still needs a 15, but Wolf has disadvantage. We are not going to use fear for this part because that would be a fear. But actually, I didn't get my fear tokens. I need fear tokens. I should have 2 fear tokens. So that is a failure. So Wolf is too busy. So what that would be is that would be a 6 minus 2 is a 4. So I went looking. That's what I said the word so, and then I got up and went and looked for them. I think I've put all of the stuff is now. If I could turn this camera around, there's just piles of sealed up boxes because to move to Belgium, we needed to not only put everything in boxes to go into Move Queue, because of customs, we have to inventory every single thing in every. I like down to, we counted my dice, and me and Mandy counting dice was quite embarrassing. Where she's asking, "Do you really need that much dice?" Yes, I do. And so it must be in one of them boxes because I had the little skull tokens that I used for the short one. So I'll have to just write down, so fear 2, we have 2 fear tokens. I could give myself a third one. I'm going to give myself a third one because that was a failure with fear. And so 3, although we won't have that make an impact. So, I mean, the construct could jump us as that, but I don't think that's going to do that now. I don't know why it would do it. We could say, I mean, it's taken offence. We could do a yes, no, and say if it's an extreme no, then the construct will attack Fern. An extreme no is the fact, but it has to be an extreme no, which it means that the fear dice has to be more than 6 higher than the hope dice. Is the construct going to attack Fern? No. So that is so we no, that would be sorry. Yes. And so is the construct going to ignore Fern? Yes, because if the fear dice is higher than the hope dice, that's a no. And so is it going to attack Fern? No, is not it. So is it going to ignore Fern? Yes, because the hope dice is bigger than the fear dice. So it just follows, and we'll continue with that clock and then make sure that we tick on with the clock. So Fern is going to make their way through the Sablewood and towards the spires to the west. Now what we will do is we will just use, we will first off make an instinct roll for Fern. Fern is going to get their advantage again because they're moving through the woods and they're attempting to move slowly. Now because they're moving slowly, it means we're not going to get there till the evening. So we will get to the spires in the evening. That's a note that I'll write down. So it will be getting dark by the time we get to the spire, which means that whatever happens might happen at night time in the evening. But because that and we're moving is naturally silent, we have advantage on rolls to move without being heard. So we're going to attempt to move silently through the woods towards the spire with a wolf, which means we've got a target of 15. We have a fear. We do have a success. So we have a 16. We have a 25. Is that right? 20? Yeah, 25. But it's a success with fear. Now, being a success with fear means that we can trigger a GM move. So a success with fear means that we get one more fear, meaning that our GM pool, our fear pool stands at 4. And according to the rule within Solo in Sablewood, when travelling through the Sablewood, make an instinct roll modified by any relevant experience with a target of 15. On a fail check or a success with fear, roll a d12. On an odd result, we have an encounter. So we roll a d12. If we roll odd, then we get an encounter. Odd, we have an encounter. All right, so as we're moving through the woods, we will get an encounter. So let's roll verbs and see what we get out of verbs. So we are going to roll. Let's roll a d20, and then we'll have a movement verb. We have a 19 tangle. Okay, tangle is fine. Tangle suggests to me like the tangle, the bramble and tangle. So maybe we are going to get jumped by some thistlefolk. So I will then have a look at where's our other verbs. We've got our standard verbs, which is from the Heart Guide. Let's roll some of the verbs from the Heart Guide. 2d12 from the Heart Guide. That's an 8. An 8. Wander. Physical journeys or emotional drifting. Wander. Okay, so we're going to wander a bit. We've got an encounter. We will give ourselves an instinct roll. If we succeed on the instinct roll, then we have gone around this bramble and we are going to get ambushed by the thistlefolk. But it's an equal ambush and they don't catch us unawares. If we fail the instinct roll, it is an ambush. Narrative. Fern is moving with Wolf stealthily through the Sablewood towards where they know the spire is, towards the west. We've come across a tangle of bracken and a tangle of, so we know this is often where the thistlefolk will hide their villages behind these things, behind these tangled messes. But we know that maybe Fern hasn't worked that one out yet, and so Fern has attempted to go around this and has have we rolled that? No, that was for the thingy, wasn't it? So we've attempted to go around this, and we now need to work out whether we are going to get ambushed by the thistlefolk, who basically seen us coming because they would have watch and sort of they would have guard on station, hidden in the brush. Now this is to see if Fern and Wolf detect that they are that they're about to be ambushed, and then we'll run a quick ambush, and then we will get Fern to the spire, hopefully all in one piece. Target of 15. We have a 9 and a 6, so with hope, which is a 15, 16, 17. So Fern succeeds in being able to identify success with hope. So we gain a hope because our hope is higher, giving us 3 hope, and we spot that we have our encounter happening. So we are going to create ourselves an encounter with the Thistlefolk. We have the encounter weighting table, which we can use from Solo in Sablewood, which then decides what we're going to fight against. So we will roll 2d12s and we'll look up on the tables. We'll start off with 5 battle points, which is who we're fighting against. So what it is within the SRD and the core book, but the SRD, there's advice on how to, as a DM, how to construct an enemy combat, which is equivalent to the basically balance, encounter balance. And we have battle points that can be spent. And we, as a solo player, have 3 points because you have 3 points per player plus 2. So there's 5 points, and I advise in here you spend 5 battle points. We will have the hope die is battle point adjustment, and the fear die is how to spend. We have a 4, which is all enemies do plus 2 damage, but we're going to use 4 battle points instead. And our fear is a 12, which says use a solo spend 5. Now we don't have 5, so we're going to bounce down and we're going to have a leader spend 3. So we'll have a leader Thistlefolk, which is 3 BP, and then we'll have that will have a minion Thistlefolk, which is 1 BP. So we're going to have 1 leader and a minion who are going to step out and attempt to deal with Fern. Fern will have the upper hand and act first. So give me 5 seconds. I'm going to quickly find something to use as a leader and something to use as a minion. All right, we're going to make it easy. We're going to use the Thistlefolk from the starting adventure, where there is a leader who is the Thistlefolk thief, and there are some ambushes. Now, the difference between these ambushes is that these are standards, and we said it's going to be a minion, which is the 1 point for a minion. Now, a difference between a minion is that a minion kills over if they take any damage whatsoever. It's like an extra from Savage Worlds, whereas the leader has actual defined hit points and stress. So we will have the Thistlefolk leader is going to dive out and is going to confront with a minion behind going, yeah, behind is going to come out and attempt to confront Fern. They do plus 2 damage though, so I have to try and, I'll write that down in here, hold on. So instead of being plus 3, it's plus 5. Instead of being plus 5, it's plus 7. So they are a bit handy. They've got extra sharp blades. And so they are going to dive out and they're going to say, all right, what you doing around here? What weapons they got? Serrated blade. So the leader's a serrated blade. The ambusher has a club. So the ambusher is the minion. Would it have enters the scene without being spotted first? They can immediately move into me. Now, because it's not an ambusher, it's just a minion. All right, what you doing here then, eh? Eh? What you doing on our turf? I say, guess everything you got. Now, Fern might try and, is Fern going to say, Fern is going to try and give it large. So that would be presence. Charm, perform, deceive. This thing has a difficulty of plus 3. We might do it like as an opposed. I can't remember reading opposed rolls in these rules, so that we might not have opposed rolls, but we're going to do opposed roll. So the ambusher, so the leader, has a plus 3 attack. So it's a difficulty of 14. Let's do it that. So it's a difficulty of 14. That would be, yeah, I mean, it's not really an opposed roll then, is it? So it's not an opposed roll, it's against the difficulty. So we'll just do against the difficulty because we are player focusing rolls. So Fern is going to attempt to basically to bravado their way against this thief to get advantage. Now I think the thief might back down. We'll see how Fern does. I'm going to say that the thief potentially has. I mean, we've got fear, so I'm going to burn one fear from the pool to say that the thief gives Fern disadvantage by burning one fear, because story-wise we're going to say that the thief they failed their roll, and thus they don't get the advantage. So we're giving them a disadvantage, and so Fern needs to make a 14 as a presence roll, which is already -1. So we get a fear with a 12, which is a 15, -4, which is 11, -1, which is a 10. We get our fear back because that is a fail with fear, and because of that, so Fern says, "Don't you threaten me. I have my wolf, and I can get through here any way I like." He's going, "Ah yeah, try this then." I went slightly Australian there. And the thief is then going to, as the thief's action, the thief will spend a fear, which is takes it to 3, to make an attack roll against all targets within melee range, which would be Wolf and Fern, and any they succeed against, they're blasted backwards, dealing 2d6 plus 3 magic damage and pushing them into far range. And we'll also say that Fern needs to make, so Wolf will be knocked prone, Fern needs to make an agility roll or be knocked prone. So so the thief, "My name's Dave." So Dave has basically done a burst of Thistlefolk energy to force Fern into a. So Fern would possibly go sliding backwards as Dave has done this burst of energy, which was because it was a GM move, and then we burnt a fear to allow Dave to use back off, which is an action, spending a fear. And then Dave is rolling a d20 plus 3 versus Fern's evasion of 12, which is a 7 plus 3 is a 10, which is fails to hit Fern. And then we have Wolf. Would that be a separate roll? To make an attack roll against all targets. So I think that would be against both. And 10 does hit Wolf. So Wolf takes 2d6 plus 3 plus 2 plus 5. So Wolf takes 10 points of damage, throwing Wolf back. Does Wolf have damage? Wolf has got stress. When your companion would take an amount of damage, they mark a stress. When they mark their last stress, they drop out of the scene by hiding, fleeing, or similar action. They remain unavailable until the start of your next long rest, where they return with 1 stress cleared. When your companion would take any amount of damage, they mark. Okay, so they take 1 stress because Wolf gets thrown backwards, and instead of counting Wolf's damage points, we just count every time Wolf takes a burst of damage, Wolf takes stress. So Wolf gets thrown backwards and into a bush, and Fern stays steady as the thief tries to burst Fern backwards. So that was one to do that. We are going to burn another fear to keep the spotlight on the Thistlefolk and have the minion charge in and try and stab up Fern. Fern is going to use their bow to attempt to defend themselves. So the Thistlefolk gets a d20, which is a 17, plus a 1, which definitely hits Fern's evasion. So Fern attempts to turn and focus on the minion who's chased in, but with Wolf making a whimpery noise, Fern looks over their shoulder to check out on Wolf, and instead gets stabbed for, so that's a 7, that's an 11, goes from minor damage to major damage, which would be 2 hit points, or we can burn a slot, one of the 3 armor slots, I believe, to knock that down by 1 threshold. So Fern will use up 1 slot from their armor, which is their leather armor, which means instead of taking 2 hit points, Fern is going to take 1 hit point, as Fern will turn. Jess push this ambusher's arm slightly, and the blade is just going to scrape across their rib cage, causing a small scratch or bruise to go through the leather armor, not taking 2 points damage, but slightly damaging their armor in the same turn. We are then going to, so shall we leave it, or shall we, so we're going to say, if the fear dice is higher than the hope dice, then we will pursue harder, and now we are going to burn another fear and get the leader is going to join in again. No, we've got the fear dice is higher than the hope dice, so we're going to burn another fear to keep the pressure on Fern, and the spotlight doesn't go back to Fern again yet, and instead we're going to have the Thistlefolk leader is going to charge in and attempt to slice up Fern by rolling a d20 plus 3 with their serrated blade. A 3 plus a 3 is a 6. A 6 does not beat Fern's evasion. So Fern will flip backwards at this point, and Fern is going to attempt to... So we'll now switch... We'll switch at this point because that was a failed roll, so the narrative suggests that it would do. We'll switch back to Fern. Fern is going to flip backwards. Fern is going to attempt to do a kick on the minion. When you succeed on an attack against a target within melee range, you can mark a stress to kick yourself off of them, dealing an extra 2d6 damage and knocking back either yourself or the target to very close range. So we're going to attempt to do an unarmed attack against the minion, which we are going to say. So what's that? So that would be an agility, unarmed attack, finesse, a finesse attack, as Fern is going to attempt to kick. We'll give it a d4 damage, an unarmed attack against the minion, and attempt to spring backwards. If we succeed, we will still have focus, and then Fern is going to attempt to shoot the leader. So first off, Fern is going to attempt to do an unarmed attack with finesse +1 against the minion, which is a difficulty of 13, which gives us a 5 plus the 1, which is a 6, which is a fail. So we fail to hit the minion, which is a failure, which means that we then flip back. Oh, Fern's not doing great, which means that we flip back to the DM side, so the baddie side. Now we've only got 1 fear left. That wasn't a fear, that was with hope, but it's a failure with hope. What have we got? So what's our hope? Spend 3 hope. When you succeed on an attack with a weapon, to use that same roll again against 2 additional adversaries within range attack. Oh, we could do that if the bow works. But we'll still say that Fern did the move. No, because Fern didn't do the kick, didn't succeed, so didn't do the kick. So Fern is still standing there, and the minion is going to attempt to attack Fern. The minion has a +1. Which is an 8, which is a failure. We won't burn that last fear to keep the focus on the Thistlefolk. We're going to give Fern a go to try and see if Fern can succeed and do something. So Fern is going to attempt to move out of range, which would be a leap or sprint. So Fern needs to make a successful agility roll to get past the minion, which is a 14, because the leader's there as well, to then be able, or it might as well do an attack against them with a +1. Okay, so we're going to try and attack the minion again with the kick to try and get out of range to to be able to allow Fern to do a bow attack against the leader. So that means it's a target of 13. We get +1. We need to roll 12s on this. Which we've got a 7. We've got an 11. An 11 plus 1 is 12. So yeah, that's 12. So we just miss. Can we use burn hope to do anything? We could try and burn hope. I wonder if we could burn 1 hope to include an experience, which is grit teeth and push through fear. We could try it. Can we do that? I mean, no, we can't really, can we? It's a success with, it's a failure with hope. So we don't, no one gets a fear, but we don't get hope. We could, no. So Fern fails again to do that. Nah, bugger it. I'm going to let Fern do this because also the clock's ticking, isn't it? And the session's getting a bit long. So Fern, we burn 1 hope to give ourselves a +2, which is grit teeth and push through fear. Because Fern's getting a bit panicky now. So we can see the fear in Fern's eyes, which allows Fern to grit their teeth. They pull back their 1 hoof and jump back and throw their body weight into the chest of the minion, catapulting the minion backwards and allowing Fern to go spinning through the air and land again. I mean, we did burn a hope, which is a resource to allow ourselves to do that, to get just a +2, which then throws Fern back. Fern is now at bow distance. We keep the spotlight on Fern. Fern is going to attempt to draw an arrow quickly. Let's have Wolf reappear at this stage as well. So Wolf is going to appear at Fern's side at this stage. Fern is going to pull an arrow, notch and fire at the Thistlefolk leader, which is an agility attack, which gives us a +2. We can't really loyal and debt. Well, we can, and we're going to burn another hope to use the +2 for loyalty and debt because the Thistlefolk leader hurt Wolf, giving us a +4 total in attempting to shoot an arrow at the Thistlefolk leader, who has a difficulty of 14. We get a fear, so we get a foul with fear. So we get 8, we get 9, we get a foul with fear, chucking the fear back to 2. And the Thistlefolk leader, the bow twangs, the arrow goes spinning off because Fern had landed badly. The Thistlefolk leader will laugh, charge forwards and burn a fear to attempt to throw them back again, do damage to them again, which is a +3 against Wolf first, which is a hit against Wolf. Wolf goes spinning away into the bush again, which is Wolf's 2nd stress, and then against Fern, which is a 10 +3, which is a 13, which beats Fern's 12. So Fern takes 2d6 +5 in magical damage. Fern takes 9, 10, 11, 12 points magical damage, which would put it to major damage of 2 hit points. Fern will burn another armor slot, meaning 1 hit point. Fern has taken 3 hit points and Fern is on half hit points. Fern is thrown back into the bush. We're going to burn the last fear, giving us 0 fear left. And the Thistlefolk thief is going to run in and attempt to stab Fern, who is laying sprawled in a bush far away. So it was a little clearing. Fern's torn up, so because 2 armor slots have been used up. Fern's armor is torn up. The Thistlefolk thief is going to run up and basically attempt to attack Fern, and then if the attack succeeds, we will keep spotlight and attempt to get them to basically ask Fern for some money. Otherwise, they're going to kill Fern, which is a +3 to this, which is a 13, which is a success. That d20 is going to be too good. It's going to be relegated. I'm going to start using that one. A 13 is a success, and so slices at Fern. It's 2d4. I rolled 2d6 for the first attack. Wait, what's the... No, the magic is 2d6, but the stabbing is 2d4. Do I have a second d4? I don't. So it's 1, is 4, plus 5 is a 9, beats the 7, which is 1 point of damage. Fern could absorb that, but no. So that's 4 points. And then he's going to attempt to get Fern to pay some money, and then they will bugger off because the minion is done for. So then the thief will grab. Now is Fern going to do that? Fern is going to try one more time. He's definitely going to have a minus for this. So to try and beat the 14. Which what would Fern need to roll? Or let's see. Well, that's no. That cancels that. Which means it's a 3. So that is a no. So Fern is going to hand over their gold. So Fern is goldless, and then the Thistle Folk leader is going to attempt to just melt and disappear. Let's give the Thistle Folk leader a roll. Difficulty of 15. Still gets the +3. That's a 12. They don't exactly melt. They attempt to do a smoke bomb, which they throw on the ground. The smoke comes up. Fern's like, where's it gone? The smoke comes down. The thief is still standing there and goes,
oh no, I forgot the runaway bit.
And then we'll leg it, grab the minion, and then depart. So instead of pounding Fern into the ground, the leader is going to depart. Because Fern was doing some bad rolls there, and the leader was doing some great rolls. And so rather than kill off Fern in our first session, we will just deplete. Fern's now only got 2 hit points left and still needs to get across to the spire. So we will say that Fern and Wolf are going to lick their wounds. Fern does have a minor healing potion, but at this point I don't think Fern's going to use the minor healing potion. Fern is going to do instead of doing a long rest, Fern is going to do a short rest as the thief legs it. I don't think the thief would want to necessarily kill Fern, as just get some stuff and then leg it, because why keep the fight going? I mean, I would say that you could use oracles to make that decision if you're not too sure. So I went lenient, openly. I'll say now, I was meta lenient on Fern, because this is only the first session and I didn't want to kill Fern off already. Although we could then have had Fern come around him in a Thistle Folk village all tied up with no stuff. But it adds a complication that I didn't want to follow. I made that choice. But you could roll on the oracles and decide where you want to happen with the story. I mean, that then was leading down the pathway of Fern possibly being defeated, but the session was going a bit long, and I got moving on. So Fern is going to take a short rest, where Fern can do 2 of these moves. We can tend to the wounds, clear stress. We didn't actually use any stress, did we? What could we have used stress on? Marking a stress to kick ourselves off, but we never succeeded in doing that. We can repair an armor slot, or we can prepare. So what we're going to do is we're going to tend wounds. We can clear 1d4 plus 1 wounds. So we're going to tend to our wounds. So we can clear 2 wounds. And we're going to attempt to do some repairs to our armor, which is 1d4 plus 1 armor slots, which is 3 armor slots. So that puts our armor back to full. So we're prepared. So we take a break. We leave the area, we take a bit of a break. We tend to our wounds. We make sure that Wolf is all right. So Wolf has still got 2 stress. So we're not cleared Wolf because we didn't clear stress. So Wolf is still a bit injured, but so are we. And then we will make our way, because we didn't do a long rest, it was just a short rest. We will then make our way towards the spire. And so what we'll do is we'll close this session. As we approach the spire, we won't roll on what the problem with the spire is yet, because we do have some tables in Sablewood on the issues at the spire. We're just going to approach the spire and see what this spire looks like. So every spire looks a bit different, and this spire, this is my take on the Sablewood. There's no canon that says every spire that I can find that says every spire in the Sablewood looks differently, but I am saying that each of the spires looks differently. They all have a fire at the top, but they each have a different type of form and a different type of presence to them. We're going to say blue is form, red is presence. We have a 7 and a 5. So this is an iron spiral tower with a melted clockwork protrusions coming out the side of it. So this spire is made of iron with metal clockwork bits sticking out the side that looks a bit drippy, like it's melted. We're at the bottom. It's a tall tower. It goes up above the canopy, out of the canopy. We can see, is the fire burning? We'll see that afterwards. And then we've got 5. The air around this area smells of ozone. We smell ozone and ash, though there's no sign of fire around here. So this is what the spire looks like as we get close to it. Now, is the fire out? What is the trouble? Why is the spire in trouble? We will find out. So what we want to do is we want to roll the spire trouble next session. So it's evening as Fern gets to the base of the spire. This comes through this clearing. There's a small clearing. Some iron steps lead up to a large archway of an iron doorway. And through the iron doorway, we can see there's iron steps that just spiral up to this network of twisted iron beams that's melted clockwork sticking out with slightly like cooled drips of iron that have cooled through time. Possibly when the Forgotten Gods battled, this was an outcome. Some magic burst hit this spire and made it melt. But it goes up towards the top of through the canopy of the Sablewood. We cannot see the top of the spire at this point. And as the camera as Fern turns to Wolf and says, "I wonder what's going on here," and the camera pans up, we will then cut to credits until we hit to the top. But the music is going to build up to tension as we go up the spire. But we don't get to find out what the problem with this spire is until next week. And with that, we will stop. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoy that. I did. I'm quite like Daggerheart. I really do. The combat goes a bit longer than I was thinking, but I think, it's just getting used to things. It was only our 3rd or 4th ever combat. If you are a subscriber, thank you so much for being a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, do consider subscribing. We do lots of things on this channel. Thank you so much to the Adventurers Guild for all of your support. The Adventurers Guild supports me financially in producing the videos. Thank you so much. If you wish to also support, you can join the Adventurers Guild, which is the YouTube membership. There are lots of benefits from joining the YouTube membership. The early doors members get the videos about 3 weeks early. There are some behind the scenes videos that you can access to. And also you get to financially support me in doing this and creating these videos for you. And that's about it really. I think we'll leave it there because that was a long session. Thank you so much for your time. I shall see you next week. Bye.